So the first thing I need to determine is the length of my dress without the ruffle hem. Now I did a prototype where I cut it at the scoop hem tunic line, and for me personally, it ended up a little bit long. So this is my second prototype, and I am choosing the hanky hem tank. So you can see here, it's where the hanky hem tank ends. I am drawing my line straight across, and when you do a straight hem, you need to curve it up just slightly at the side in order for it to fall in the most flattering, even way. So I have measured 1.5 inches up from the line here, and I have placed a mark. Now I'm simply going to gently curve this mark back in with my line, gently curving until I meet up with that line, and then I'm simply going to mark it. The pink line that I've just drawn will be my new hemline on my dress. So I'm going to go ahead and cut or alter the front bodice piece in the exact same fashion, cut along this line, and then construct my dress just as I would any other dress. The only difference is that when I sew the side seams on one of the sides, I'm going to leave a 2-inch area at the very bottom unsewn. So I'm going to sew down the side seam of the front and back bodice, adhering the two together, and I'm going to stop 1.5 inches to 2 inches before I reach the hemline. I have constructed my dress here, sewing both the back and front bodice together, leaving a 2-inch opening along one of the side seams along the hemline. At this point, I always try my dress on. Fabrics with greater vertical stretch will appear longer than fabrics with more compromised vertical stretch. So I tried my dress on and determined that I needed an additional 6 inches in length to have my desired length. So I cut this ruffle 7¼ inches in length, which gives me a 1-inch hem allowance and a 1/4 inch seam allowance to attach it to the dress. Now that I have determined the length of my ruffle, I need to determine the width. On my first version, I chose to make the ruffle twice as long as the circumference of the hemline, and found that that was a little bit too much ruffle for my preference. So on this version, I am going to do 1.5 times the circumference of the hemline. Now to determine 1.5 times the circumference of the hemline without measuring, I am simply going to take my 2 pieces of ruffle here, and I have these cut with the fabric, with the stretch running along the length of the ruffle. I'm going to place them right sides together and serge along the short end to attach them, creating one ruffle. So I've serged the short end, and I have the ruffle folded over on itself. I'm going to place the serged end here at the side seam. I'm going to smooth out the ruffle. Now you can see if I cut it here, it would be 1-to-1 with the hemline of the dress. I want 1.5, so I'm going to smooth it out, fold it back over, and I'm going to cut it here, which is halfway along the circumference. If I let it go all the way across, then it would be twice the circumference of the hemline. I'm going to cut it right here. Now that I have my ruffle constructed, I am first going to hem the ruffle, and then I'm going to gather it on my serger. So in order to hem, I'm going to fold up 1 inch, wrong sides together, and cover stitch this on my cover stitch machine. I am then going to gather the ruffle on my serger, which is my preferred method of gathering, and I will add a link to a tutorial video going over that method in the post. So now I have hemmed my ruffle and I've gathered it on my serger. So you can see it lines up with the bottom of my hemline. I'm simply going to place the ruffle right sides together So like this, lining up the gathers with the free edge of the hemline along the side where I left the side seam open. I'm simply going to serge it on all the way around and then finish the side seam carrying down through the ruffle and then hiding my serger tail.